and welcome to Beyond the Bio. Stay tuned this week to learn lots of tips and tricks to make your LinkedIn profile and your LinkedIn game generally better in 2025. So this week is a solo episode and I'm talking about LinkedIn. Now we have covered LinkedIn a couple of times on the show since it started, and probably the most memorable episode we've done has been when we had LinkedIn guru Leah Turner on the show, which was quite a few episodes ago now, certainly a good few months ago. And I guess that kind of brings things up to date in terms of LinkedIn, because since then I've gone on to actually buy Leah's LinkedIn training business, which might seem a little bit random, but it so isn't, because LinkedIn is definitely the platform that most of our clients here at Moja spend most time on and get most back from in terms of lead generation, collaborations, exciting opportunities, and just needing to be on there. So it was something that we were certainly being asked to provide a lot of support for. We had invested in Leah's training ourselves years ago, and I certainly personally got a lot from it. So when I saw that Leah was closing down her LinkedIn training business to focus full time on her membership, I saw that as an opportunity, because I knew that she had some brilliant resources that sit alongside the training, as well as all of that wonderful knowledge and that structure in terms of how she delivers that training. So you may have seen the announcement if you follow Leah and I on LinkedIn. But yeah, we did the deal. Leah told me that she had been approached by lots of LinkedIn trainers to sell the business to them, and they'd offered her all sorts of money for it. But she went with our offer because we'd worked together, we knew each other, even though she could have made more by selling it to someone else. I think one of the things I really admire about Leah is her integrity and wanting to be confident that her training business was in safe hands. She knew that she had trained me to deliver to the standard that she had. We then had another day together to go over all sorts of things just to make sure that that handover was really slick and that I have all of the resources that we need to deliver the training going forward. So what does that now mean by having a LinkedIn training business? It's so interesting, isn't it? Because I don't want to become known as a LinkedIn trainer. That's not what I am. But I think that when we're thinking about LinkedIn in the context of personal branding, it is such a natural fit for what we do here at Moja. I often talk about personal branding as being, well, first of all, I talk about personal branding as being a term that I actually really dislike, because people always think about social media when they think about having a strong personal brand. But for me, that's always been the last bit of a personal brand. It's all the stuff that make up the brand, make up your brand. When people Google your name, it's all the things that come up on Google across the various tabs. It's the awards that you've won. Maybe you've written a book, you've written other content, you are speaking at an event, you've created video. It's all those individual activities that come together to make up your profile. And you are what Google says you are, right? Then social media is that end piece of the puzzle where you have done all of these cool things and you're able to then talk about them and amplify them using your social media platform of choice. With the purchase of the LinkedIn training business, we're able to offer more structured training for our retainer clients, but also offer it as a standalone service. And as I said before, it absolutely complements everything we are doing at Moja. So I wanted to use this episode to celebrate the fact that we have bought a new business, and also to try and highlight why you should be spending more time on LinkedIn. I know that a lot of listeners of this show prefer some of the other platforms. I know we have a lot of Instagram lovers that listen to the show, but I can't think of a single business or career that you might have where LinkedIn wouldn't be worth spending more time on. Even if you feel a lot of your audience hang out on Instagram or TikTok or whatever platform you're really into, I bet there's an untapped potential in LinkedIn. And actually, I think if you don't see LinkedIn as a viable platform to make those business connections or collaborations or whatever, then actually that's probably the greatest potential, because if other people that would be competitors don't see that either, then it's a less noisy space for you to stand out on. So I definitely think that it's worth a go. Obviously, I sell LinkedIn training now, so I do think you should invest. But for me, we spent a lot of money on training years ago, but it is massively, massively paid off. And if you can use something better, it's using that tool, and whether you teach yourself to do it or whether you pay an agency like us to give you a helping hand, it is worth the investment, because once you've invested either time or money into something, you're more likely to be consistent with it and make the effort to see that return. So I hope that I have convinced you of the power of LinkedIn for personal branding, whether it be just now or whether you've listened to some of the previous shows. And I think that particularly for professionals, it's a no-brainer. But even people, like I say, in different industries, in more creative industries, it's still a really good place to be. And I think where it differs from some of the other social platforms is the way that you can write a really good piece of content and it gets out to so many more people. I do see people that are big on the likes of Instagram who use the same tone of content on LinkedIn and it bombs. An example might be someone that's got 20, 30, 40,000 followers on Instagram and will do a post on there and get hundreds of likes and comments, yet they'll repurpose that content for LinkedIn and they'll get two likes. And they probably are scratching their heads and wondering why it doesn't work. Maybe then writing off LinkedIn and thinking, that's not for me, my audience isn't there because I'm not getting that engagement. But actually, with a few tweaks to understanding the type of content that lands better on LinkedIn, softening some of those posts a bit to be more suitable for LinkedIn, and also just some basic tips and tricks around when and how to post, that content probably would do just as well, if not better, on LinkedIn. Because I think sometimes Instagram can be a little bit of an echo chamber in terms of your audience, whereas with LinkedIn, if I do a post on LinkedIn and someone likes it or comments on it, I then have access to all of their network probably seeing my content as well. So that potential for reach is just wild. And whenever I do a post, I'll get second and third degree connections commenting or liking it or engaging with it in some way. But also every single time I post on LinkedIn, I am getting a serious amount of followers as a result. So it's just definitely the best way to go about it. So if I was advising you to get focused on LinkedIn, first of all, I would be starting with some objectives, like why do you want to be spending time on LinkedIn? What would success look like for you if you were to review your progress of being consistent on LinkedIn in 3 months' time? What would that look like? What would that be? Would it be that you have added X amount of followers to your profile? Would it be that you've made X amount of sales? Would it be X amount of people have been in touch to collaborate? Is it getting requests to be a guest speaker at events or on podcasts? So there's all sorts of different ways that you can measure it. You can even benchmark your progress using your SSI score. So if you don't know what that is, just literally go into Google, put what is my SSI score, or even just SSI score. It will take you through to a page that you can click on and it will say something like, give me my score. And it's just a page on LinkedIn and it will give you your kind of, it's like a dashboard really for where your profile is at in terms of your industry, but also where your profile is at in terms of your network as well. And it breaks it down and it gives you a score based on how active you are really on LinkedIn and how much engagement you're getting. So it's quite useful just as a starting point to see where you're at now. And then it does update every week. So you can then look at it maybe in a few months' time and see where that has moved to. In fact, we'll pop a link to your SSI to find your SSI score in the show notes, just to make that super, super easy. So it's starting out with those basic objectives to work out how you're going to measure the success. And then you need to make sure that your profile is fully optimized. So like I've said, you can pay someone to help you with this, or if you want to do it yourself, you could look at the profile of someone that you know will have a fully optimized profile. So mine is going to be a great example. I know that I have filled out every section on my profile. So if you had LinkedIn open now on your profile and my profile, you will be able to see all of the sections that I've got that perhaps you don't yet have. And I think that's probably the easiest way to look at it, because when you have a profile that isn't fully optimized with all the sections complete, you don't know what you haven't got. So maybe that's a good starting point for people that are wanting to up their LinkedIn game. Once you've spent time making sure your profile is fully optimized, and that is, if you only do one thing on LinkedIn, that is probably the thing to spend the most time on, because if people are then finding your profile and looking at it, and then you've got places that you're sending them to be able to engage with you, to do business with you, or if you're in a career and you're job hunting, then again, that's going to be the place where you want to hang out and invest your time. So that is the non-negotiable. If you don't do that, then, well, you've got to do that. Otherwise, there's just no point in spending any time on LinkedIn. You've got to get that sorted. And then it's thinking about, what is your content strategy going to be? What types of posts resonate most? I often advise people to have a look at their analytics dashboard, because if you have a look at that, you are going to find on there what has done well in terms of your previous posts. You can sort it by different time frames. So I quite often go in and I'll sort it for the previous year, and I'll look at what posts landed the best over the last year. And it just gives me some ideas around content. You then need to be thinking around consistency. So how often are you going to be posting on LinkedIn? Now, some people think you need to post every day. There are very few of us that have enough going on to be able to post every day and write well and have engaging and different content. I think that's a real skill if you can nail that. But otherwise, I think it comes across as quite repetitive. I see a lot of ChatGPT going on in terms of writing posts. And while ChatGPT can be useful, and we'll do a link back to the episode that we had with Athena Todd, which was earlier in 2024, where she was talking about actually people are using ChatGPT to write their posts, but at the wrong time. Her advice is you write the post and then you use ChatGPT to tidy it up, which I've tried, and actually that does work. But if you get it to write the post from the off, it is so obvious. I'm going to tell you how I can spot these ChatGPT posts a mile off. First of all, in the headline for the post, in the strap line, it will have an emoji at the start of the line and at the end of the line. That's a classic. It will have Americanized spellings all the way through, ones that stand out. Honor with no U. That's a giveaway. And then it will have lots of emojis throughout the post, usually as well. And then at the end, it will have like 5 different hashtags, and people aren't really using hashtags as much on LinkedIn anymore. So they are my top giveaways for if someone's used ChatGPT to write their post. So I'm not saying don't use it, but if you use it in that way to actually write the post, just tweak it. Tweak it. Take those giveaways out so that people like me aren't reading it and going, But like I say, a really good way of using it is just write the post in a really draft, loose format, and then I just stick it in ChatGPT if I'm not too sure about it, and I just tidy this LinkedIn post up. And sometimes it will do a banging job and I can just copy and paste it. Sometimes you still got to tweak it a bit. So think about how you do use them. Let's just think about what we've covered there so far. So we've talked about setting some objectives, being really clear about what you want to achieve from the platform, sorting your profile out, committing to posting regularly, but that doesn't have to be every day. And maybe that works for you and you want to be that visible. But I post usually twice a week, sometimes more, sometimes less, depends what is going on. But just having something where you can commit to posting regularly. You also need to have the time to engage with any comments or messages that you're getting off the back of that post. So it's thinking about posting on a day where you will have that time to do so. Ensuring you've got enough to talk about, and that if you are using AI, that you're using it in a way that isn't really obvious. So my suggestion is going to be that you set yourself some kind of challenge. So whether it be a 1-month challenge, a 3-month challenge, but setting those goals and then setting those intentions around how you're going to use it, because then you can review it at the end of that time period and see how successful you have been. If you do need any help with LinkedIn, it goes without saying that we'd love to hear from you. Please do check out our LinkedIn training. We'll pop a link to that in the show notes. And if we're not already connected on LinkedIn, then please do drop me a connection request. I'm going to be spending more time on LinkedIn in 2025, and I hope to see you there too. Thanks for listening, and I will see you for the recap on Thursday. Thank you for listening. If you're serious about growing your profile, take our free profile assessment quiz to see where you're at right now and get hints and tips on how to improve your score. You'll find the link to the quiz in the show notes. If you've enjoyed the episode, it would be mint if you'd subscribe, like, and leave a review. See you next Monday.